in Bhagavatam. So, first of all, we offer our obeisances to gurus and deities. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God, Narayana, and to Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayesva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhagavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all the disturbance unto the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, with praise, with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaham Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, so we are going to continue right now on the verse 1519, which I will recite for my own purification. The first verse I will recite the Sanskrit and then the English, and the next will be read by Andy. Navai jano jatu katancha navrajan mukunda sevyan yavad anga samsmritim smaran mukundangri upaguhanam punar vinah vihaitum ichena rasa graho janaha. Madhya Vyasa, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down some way or another, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others, fruity workers, etc. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again. I think we need to spend a couple of minutes over this concept, which are subtle, so we need to understand them. First of all, here it says, even though a devotee sometimes falls down, he doesn't undergo material existence like others. So any devotee, who is a devotee? What is the definition of a devotee? Because if we do not define a devotee, then we say that anyone who comes to the temple for one or twice, then he's a devotee, don't worry, you are protected, etc. We become like some religion who say everything is okay at the end of life. The Lord will come and will save you, which is not our philosophy. So we have to establish. And here, a definition is given by Narada Muni. It says, those who once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again. So this is a devotee who is talking. Again, not somebody who comes one time, chant Hare Krishna, offends everybody, and then goes away. That's not a devotee. A devotee is the one who has relished the taste of the lotus feet. It's an advanced devotee. Of course, I don't mean that that even somebody who has chanted Hare Krishna even one time has not derived some kind of benefit. Of course he does. But here, Narada Muni is talking about somebody else. He is talking about an advanced devotee who has tasted spiritual life. And then if he falls down for any reason, then sooner or later he will come back. He will come back because he cannot forget the taste of how beautiful it was to be a devotee, to chant Hare Krishna, to be with Vaishnavas, to chant Hare Krishna, to talk about Bhagavatam and all these things. And then he will come back. Okay, this is very important because it opens to misunderstanding and I wanted to clarify it. Can you please continue 1520, Andy?
Yes. The Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead is himself this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis.
Yes. So a few points. First of all, we know that God exists, of course, and he is the creator. But he does enter into his creation. He's ultimately the creator. It's not that Krishna himself creates. He doesn't create anything. Krishna plays his flute and he doesn't have time to waste building. Like a government, like the king or the president, he doesn't go to a place and build himself the prison. He gives the order and somebody does it. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead gives power to somebody to create the universe. And he, although he is ultimately the creator, is aloof from it. He's not part of the material world. It's something that is far away from him, external to him, which doesn't mean outside his creation, because there is nothing outside his creation, because his creation is infinite. So this cosmic manifestation emanates from him, ultimately rests in him. And when, at the time it comes, he annihilates the material creation. And then we'll see in the future how this material creation is emanated. For some time he stays, and then sometimes he comes back into Mahavishnu body, not Krishna's body, but Mahavishnu body. And after some time, he comes out again. So it's cyclic. He comes and he goes. He comes and he goes, just like anything in this world. He comes and he goes. Just because we have a very peculiar perception of time, we think that we have something. But if we go aloof a little bit, we see that comes and go, everything comes and go in 1 second. Yeah, but it takes some very developed intelligence to understand that. Because we think, oh, I am American, oh, I am white, oh, I am women, oh, I am rich and poor, etc. That's nothing. That's nothing. It's like we think, oh, I have a very nice apartment. Okay, so take a helicopter, take an airplane, and you don't even see it anymore. It's so small, it's so insignificant. So time also is very insignificant compared to the eternity. And if you want to be being a spiritualist, means to want to think in terms of eternity. Okay, 21, please.
Your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the supersoul personality of Godhead, because you are present as the plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please, therefore, describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna more vividly.
I'm sure you remember how Narada Muni criticized Vyasadeva. And he said, what are you doing? Why are you bewildering people, making them think that they are the body? And now he's saying there's an expansion of the Lord, which is true. So we have already explained that. I don't want to repeat. I may repeat it in a couple of months, or no, a couple of weeks after, because I'm sure you remember why I said, I explained this point. One is in terms of rasa, and the other one is in terms of tattva, but I'm sure you remember. So if you don't, in some time you question, I will answer. So Vyasadeva is not a common human being. He's an expansion of the Lord. So he knows perfectly the Supreme Personality of Godhead because it's a plenary portion. Plenary portion means an eternal part. There is this Vyasadeva eternally exists as Vyasadeva, although he does not come always, only once per day of Brahma. Otherwise, in other Mahayugas, there are other Vyasadevas. So Vyasadeva, Narada Muni says, although you are eternal, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people, of us. That now we are so privileged to be studying these most beautiful conversations. So again, Narada Muni says definitely what is the problem. There describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Did Vyasadeva, did not Vyasadeva do it? Yes, he did. But here he says, Adiganyata, more vividly. You did it, but not enough. You have to be more precise and more specific. And this is the instruction of Narada Muni to Srila Vyasadeva. So let's go on to verse 22.
Learned circles have positively concluded that the infallible purpose of the advancement of knowledge, namely austerities, study of the Vedas, sacrifice, chanting of hymns and charity, culminates in the transcendental descriptions of the Lord, who is defined in choice poetry.
So I'm sure that you would question, so should I not study? Should I not make austerities? Should I not study the Vedas, sacrifice, chanting the hymns, because it's useless? Because all I had to do is describe the transcendental activities of the Lord. No, it's not useless. Culmination means it is the most important. And for a liberated soul, he doesn't need to do austerities and things like that. But we need it to arrive to the point of actually tasting the pleasure of the pleasure of hearing, describing the activities of the Lord. We need to do austerities, study the Vedas, sacrifice, chanting hymns from the Rig Veda and other scriptures, do charity, etc. And then when we are qualified, thanks to these very pious activities, then we are more ready to understand, to realize the activities of the Lord. So it is mechanical? No, it's not mechanical. Unless one does not get the mercy of a pure devotee, you can do austerities for hundreds of lives. You'll never get it, never, because Yasha Prasad, Bhagavad Prasad, Yasha Prasad, Nagati, never, ever, ever, because there is nothing that the Lord likes more than his devotees. So we had to do austerities, study the Vedas, etc., but you need the mercy of a pure devotee. You need somebody who is a bona fide representative of the parampara of the Lord to tell you, yes, you're doing good. until this does not get, whatever you do is okay, it's not bad, but it's not enough. Okay, so we should go to 23.
O Muni, in the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maidservant engaged in the service of Brahmanas who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service.
So this verse begins the story of Narada Muni in his previous birth. This is not the story of Narada Muni in this birth, but his previous birth. So he is telling the story of how important is association with pure devotees. And that's why I made a comment 1 minute ago, 2 minutes ago, that you can do any pious activities you want, but if you don't get the mercy of a pure devotee, you don't go anywhere. So here, Narada Muni is making the point, and he says that in the last millennium, why is saying the last millennium? Because Narada Muni was living in the Mahayuga before, and actually in the first 50 years of Brahma's life. But this is a little complicated. I will explain how the concept of time, which we'll have to study because the Bhagavatam talks about how time is calculated according to the Vedic calculation. But anyway, in the last millennium, he was born as a son of maidservant. So very simple boy. He didn't have any culture, he didn't study, he didn't have a guru, he didn't have nothing. But he was very lucky because during Chaturmasya is a period of Chatu means 4. So Masya means month. So during the 4 months where nobody has to travel, because it rains a lot and it's not auspicious to travel. So the devotees, they stop somewhere, wherever they are, they stop in a temple, in an ashram, and they stay 4 months without traveling. Though these pure devotees, they arrive to the place where the previous Narada was living, and they stopped there for 4 months. And during these 4 months, since she was a maidservant, her son would serve them. So he had the opportunity to associate with them. So he would listen to them while talking. If you expect the devotees to talk anything else apart from Krishna, you lose your time. The devotees, they talk only about Krishna, Sometimes people tell the devotee, "Oh, you are boring. You don't talk about anything." No, we don't talk about anything. There is nothing to talk about because the scripture says that those topics who do not describe the activity of the Lord are like a frog. The snake, they want to eat frogs. And because at night the frogs, they do this noise, crack, 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 crack. So the snake know how to find them and they kill them. So talking about anything else that is not Krishna consciousness just attracts your next birth to come, death come, and taking another birth, and we don't want. So Narada Muni, before being Narada Muni, he was a young boy. He didn't have any culture, but he was a good boy. So he served them and he listened to them. He couldn't understand because sometimes advanced devotees, the way they talk, it's not easy to understand what they say. Our philosophy is sometimes it can be very complicated. So he didn't really understand everything they said, but they were taking prasadam. He would understand something, but the great purification, it came when the boy would eat the remnants of their food. So we are going to see in a couple of verses that Narada Muni himself mentioned at this point. So he served the great devotees. So number 24.
Although they were impartial by nature, those followers of Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled and had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty, and I did not speak more than required.
So as you can see, Narada Muni was not a very educated boy, but was a very good boy. So there is here a word that I want to spend maybe 1 minute, explain it. What it means, what is the difference between Veda and Vedanta? Veda means knowledge, so everything. But there is a branch of knowledge which teach you the goal of knowledge. Why you study? Just by, if you just study, become very learned, you may go to the upper planets, you can go to Indraloka, you can go to Chandraloka, but you don't go to Goloka Vrindavana. To go to Goloka Vrindavana is to study Vedanta, which means that knowledge explains what is the final goal of knowledge. That's why here Narada Muni very appropriately is using the word Vedanta and called the Bhakti Vedanta. You know, not just Vedanta, they were Bhakti Vedanta. He was very precise, and he was saying that they knew that the end, Anta, of the Vedas, knowledge, was Bhakti. That's why he was called Bhakti Vedanta. So normally the Bhakti Vedanta, they are quite aloof from mankind. They don't really make friends like we do when we meet between ourselves. Oh, how are you? This kind, you know. When you go to India, especially in other maths, because here in ISKCON we are very friendly, because we grew up being very personal and friendly with everybody since our first years of life. But if you go to Gaudiya Math or other math, they never make. I don't have one Gaudiya Math devotee as friend. So at the beginning, I was wondering why they were so cold. You know, you try to speak to them, they speak, but you don't feel empathy. You know, and then I understood that sometimes be too much empathical, and it's not really good because you get attached. So I'm not saying that we should not be empathical. I'm not saying that we should not be friendly, but I just want to raise a red flag that we should not get too attached, because otherwise you get attached. Oh, these 3-4 devotees, they come to the temple, I'm so happy, you know, I'm very good, etc. And they go. And you suffer because I was very friendly, I attached, I spent so much time with them, etc. Oh, my disciple, he was very good, and now he just disappeared. You get attached. The result of attachment is that you feel sad. A sadness is not good in spiritual life. We had to be equiposed. We spoke about this word, equiposed. We spent some time in our Spanish video conference talking about equiposed. Okay, verse number 25. So I forgot to conclude. So the Bhaktivedanta, normally those type of devotees, they're very gentle, but they don't make friendship. But with this boy, they made some friendship. They tried. They felt that this boy was a special soul, so they gave them. They gave him some special mercy.
Once only, by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and by so doing, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus, being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time, the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me.
Yasha Prasada, Bhagavad Prasada, Yasha Prasada Nagati. Without the mercy of a pure devotee, we don't go anywhere. You may get bored listening to this concept from me, but I don't care. I will continue to say it because this is very important. You know, we are here because of the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. There is no doubt about that. There's nothing else, nobody else. We are here because of Srila Prabhupada. And we are all, in one sense, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, because I doubt that there is one devotee who comes to our temple who didn't come because of Srila Prabhupada books, or they didn't stay because of the Srila Prabhupada books. So it is evident then having made tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of devotees who identify themselves in Krishna consciousness, this is all due to Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And of course, originally and finally, the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. But we should be careful by glorifying the deities like Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Krishna, Radha, Krishna, etc. We don't give enough credit to their devotee. And in our particular case, Srila Prabhupada is the reason why we are all here. And we should always offer obeisances to him in our houses and have a murti of him and offer Guru Puja daily, possibly daily or at least weekly, you know. And about our personal gurus, some of you as gurus, some of you don't yet, etc., etc. Yes, of course, you should worship your gurus, but not as much as we should worship Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada should be always in our altar, have a bigger picture and the bigger worship. We can offer Guru Puja or Vyasa Puja, the day of birthday, to our spiritual master once in a year, but Srila Prabhupada, we should actually offer Guru Puja every day. So only by their permission, by their mercy, the potency, the power that it was inside this food, and the mercy or their permission, yes, take my food, immediately he felt attraction for Krishna consciousness. How come so many devotees come to our temple and not many people get attracted? Or they get attracted and sometimes after they leave, they're not attracted anymore. Why? Because they don't take the mercy. They refuse the mercy, or they make offenses, and then they lose everything. So we should always be careful not to make offenses by thought, by word, or by action, because this is how you lose Krishna consciousness. And the very nature of the transcendence became attracted to me, says Narada Muni. So this picture is very clear and very beautiful. So let's go on to number 26.
O Vyasadeva, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedantists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna, and thus listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step.
It's not casual. You know, when Narada Muni or they speak, nothing is casual. First, Narada Muni said, I got the mercy. They gave me the permission to take their prasadam. And after I began listening attentively, then I started to understand. Because you don't understand Krishna consciousness with your intelligence. You understand Krishna consciousness with mercy. First, mercy. Mercy activate the like a symphony to transcendence in your intelligence. Yes, you understand Krishna consciousness with your intelligence, but this intelligence had to be activated by the mercy of a pure devotee. So these Vedantists who were there gave Narada Muni, before Narada Muni was Narada Muni, I keep repeating it, that their mercy, and then he could understand, listening attentively. Yeah, you should not come, of course you don't, but some people may come to classes and just waiting the time for taking prasadam or something else. So they don't listen attentively. So, but you should listen attentively. Because in this way, my taste of hearing of the personality of God that increases. Hearing is very important because hearing goes directly to the heart. Okay, so when we chant, we have to hear. That's why some devotee, when he chants the japa, they don't say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. But they say something else. Pay attention. They don't say the name because they are not hearing. They are not hearing. You should hear the mantra. So if you hear the mantra, so you will say it all the 16 names. And this is very important. And philosophy also, your attention should be full. Try for half an hour or 1 hour, whatever, the class lasts. Give full attention to what has been said. In this way, your taste and advancement in Krishna consciousness will be real. Number 27.
O great sage, as soon as I got a taste of the personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching. And as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I had accepted gross and subtle coverings, for both the Lord and I are transcendental.
Yes. So what is the first, and this is a question I receive constantly. What is the first symptom that I am advanced in spiritual life? What is the first symptom? That you realize that you and your body are two different things. What is material consciousness? I am this body. And maybe I have a soul, maybe. Some do not even believe that the soul exists. A materialist or atheist, they think they are the body, which means we say always, we continue saying it. I am man, I'm a woman, I am white, I'm black, I'm American, I'm European, I am rich, I'm poor. This is false. And this is the first symptom of a devotee who is advancing in spiritual life. Me and my body are two different things. Narada Muni says it very clearly here. As in my taste, I like to hear. So I could realize there was only ignorance, my acceptance of gross and subtle coverings, for both the Lord and I are transcendental. We have nothing to do with this material body. Number 27. No, 28.
Thus, during 2 seasons, the rainy season and autumn, I had the opportunity to hear these great-souled sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. As the flow of my devotional service began, the coverings of the modes of passion and ignorance vanished.
Also, this is very beautiful, this description that Narada Muni is giving us the step-by-step description of what's happening when one advances in spiritual life. First of all, you understand that you and your body are different. And then what happens is that the coverings or the mode of passion and ignorance go away. What are the modes of passion and ignorance? Ignorance means I like what is dark. And passion, I like what it means to be dark. I like something that is dirty, something that is sinful, something that is disrespectful, something that is offensive. I like to fight. This is ignorance. Passion means I want to make money. I want to my family. I want to become important. I want to be a president. This is a mode of passion. And as soon as we get taste for devotional service, we become disinterested in passion and ignorance. And successively, we are, of course, going to talk about goodness also, not only passion and ignorance. So 29.
I was very much attached to those sages. I was gentle in behavior, and all my sins were eradicated in their service. In my heart, I had strong faith in them. I had subjugated the senses, and I was strictly following them with body and mind.
This is so beautiful. I mean, this is really, and everyone who begins a spiritual life should read these verses every day. Maybe he should read attentively these verses, because one should become very attached to devotees, and in particular to pure devotee, to the guru or advanced devotees. And one should make an effort to be gentle in behavior. So in such a way that through being respectful to advanced devotees and by doing devotional service, practical devotional service, chanting and reading and going to the temple and all these things, all the sins became eradicated by serving the devotees. And one should have a strong faith in advanced devotee. Of course, we should not have strong faith in anyone. Here we are talking about pure devotees. When you meet a pure devotee, your faith should be total. If you strive to have faith in pure devotees, then you advance in spiritual life. I have seen in my life devotees falling down because they couldn't accept what Srila Prabhupada was saying. And many of my god brothers, I remember in the 70s, some devotee was saying, no, I don't agree with what Prabhupada says. They all fell down, no one stayed, So first of all, you should see if this person is a pure devotee. Once it's a pure devotee, you take initiation, and after you should have strong faith. Whatever he says, you accept. At that point, since he has a full taste in spiritual life, then obviously the subjugation, is correct in English, subjugation of the senses are automatic. You don't need to control the senses. Yoga teaches you to control your senses. But this is not the right way. The right way is taste a better pleasure, and automatically you will control the senses. Because if you try to control the senses without having an alternative pleasure, you will not succeed. Because we want pleasure. We cannot stay without pleasure. So first the pleasure, and after the control. Not first the control, and then, whatever, maybe the pleasure will come. It will not come, because you will not be able to control your senses. Of course, that doesn't mean that you should not try to control the senses, but it's more important to try to be a devotee, and the taste for devotional service comes, and control the senses will come automatically. Number 30, and then I think it's the time for more or less a couple of verses more, and we have ample time for questions that I think we should give a password and tell people, if you want to come to the conference, you must have at least one question. Compulsory question. Just joking. Okay, let's go to verse number 13.
As they were leaving, those Bhaktivedantas who are very kind to poor-hearted souls, instructed me in that most confidential subject which is instructed by the personality of Godhead himself.
So why this is called confidential? Why they don't say to everybody? There are a lot of confidential knowledge that we don't say to people that we don't even know. So why confidential? Confidential because there are some type of knowledge that you cannot do anything with it because you are not ready, first of all. And second, by knowing something that is useless to you, you can actually do offenses. Just like talking about very intimate pastimes, or rather in Krishna, not only you don't taste anything listening to those pastimes, but actually you become envious and say, oh, I cannot even have some sex with my wife, and look, Krishna, what he's doing, I don't understand. So, because first we had to understand that whatever Krishna is doing is transcendental, it's not material. We are not allowed to do something because it is material, not because it's but in the spiritual world, there are a lot of things that we can do and we will do in the spiritual world that right now they are prohibited, or what is the contrary of advisable?
Or unadvisable or inadvisable?
Inadvisable.
Or regulated?
Yeah.
They're like regulated things?
Yeah, that we suggest people not to do, in other words. So when the Bhaktivedanta understood that this boy was very qualified, then they told him something that they won't tell him, they won't tell anybody. So there was the knowledge about the personality of God himself. And we don't know what they said to Narada Muni, because Narada didn't say to us because it was confidential. But we know that the Bhaktivedanta instructed Narada in something very confidential. Number 31.
By that confidential knowledge, I could understand clearly the influence of the energy of Lord Sri Krishna, the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. By knowing that, one can return to him and personally meet him.
Yes. The knowledge they gave him was they instructed him about what is Maya, what is material energy, and who is Krishna, what is the difference between the two. And by knowing that, what can return to him. Of course, we don't know exactly what they said, but they said something that we talk about in all our classes. Okay, last verse, and then we go to questions. Number 32.
O Brahmana Vyasadeva, it is decided by the learned that the best remedial measure for removing all troubles and miseries is to dedicate one's activities to the service of the Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna.
So it's very nice. Again, Narada Muni is answering to Vyasadeva's question, why I am satisfied and what is wrong with the Vedas, what is wrong with what I did, why I don't feel satisfied with what I did. Again and again, Narada Muni is keeping repeating the same thing, that you did not describe enough what happens in the spiritual world, the activities of what he does, how he thinks, what is his nature, what he loves, what he doesn't love, who are his associates, how is made the spiritual world. How can we decide to go in the spiritual world if we don't know what we find there? So it is very important to have full knowledge of all these topics. In such a way we can grow, desire to be devotee and go back to the spiritual world as soon as possible. Okay. All right. So I think it's time. 1 hour almost. Yes. We have some time for questions and answers. Bhakti Rosario.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances and my reverence. I'm
Please.
sorry that I'm late, but I came late from work. But I didn't want just to ignore the fact that you were meeting today. So I had to plug in. I'm sorry. I know that you like punctuality. But
Better late than never.
yes. And last week, you know that I was in the Dominican Republic.
Yes.
I log on the meeting on Thursday, and then I found out that the meeting has changed to Wednesday. So I miss it.
In English?
Yes.
Because you never go to ishvara.org.
You know what, Guru Maharaj? I'm so sorry. You're right. I do sometimes. I do.
Every day you should go.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Well, anyway, thank you so very much. I have a question. You mentioned that we should strive to have faith, and I'm wondering, I thought that faith is something that develops naturally, spontaneously. Could you please help me understand that striving? I never thought that we need to make an effort to have faith.
Very nice question, because there are different types of faith, and there are faiths who are born from ignorance, faiths who are born of passion, faiths who are born of goodness, and faiths who are born of transcendental knowledge. So not to do things too lengthy, because we can talk 1 hour about all this, it is very important to know that we are accustomed by culture of birth of a type of faith that has nothing to do with the faith we talk about. You know, we are trained to have a faith in God without knowing who God is, without knowing why I should have faith. Well, yeah, they tell us otherwise you go to hell. This type of faith not only is useless, but it's really not the faith we talk about. Faith we talk about is the result of partial devotional, partial advancement in devotional service. You come to the temple, and then you like the philosophy. So this is the beginning of devotional service. And because you liked what you heard, then you want to come back again. So why you want to come back again? Because this is called faith. You know, is that feeling, Srila Rupa Goswami called it Shraddha. Often the Shraddha, just to make it simple, is translated as faith, but actually Srila Prabhupada explained that Shraddha means the initial impetus for devotion, for spiritual life, devotional service. So by Krishna's mercy or devotee's mercy, you arrive to a temple, you like the place, you like the prasad, you like the murti, you like the devotees, you like the philosophy, and you say, yes, I will come back. This is called Shraddha. This is called faith. So you come back, and that feeling of well-being repeats itself. And actually, it is supposed to become a little more. Not only you are a guest, you are starting to enter into the spiritual family. So you like it more. And this is faith. And then this kind of faith gives you the push for practicing devotional service, which means coming back again in the temple, chanting and increasing your devotion, not only going to the temple or reading the book, but doing more, which means chanting Hare Krishna, listening to more philosophy, going more to the temple, etc. And this causes a chain reaction of advancement and faith. The faith is caused by devotional service. And because you do devotional service, your faith increases. And because your faith increases, your devotional service increases. And because your devotional increases, the faith increases, etc. In this way, in this chain reaction of a Shraddha and sadhana bhakti, you become purified. That is the faith. The faith we talk about is a faith caused by something concrete, something solid, something real, and not just I have faith in God. Who is God? I don't know. I don't care. What is this? This is nothing. This is a en español se llama payasada. I don't know in English how you call payasada. Foolishness. Clown, like clowns, makes people who are a little intelligent laugh. How you can have faith of somebody you don't know? You have to know at least something. You have to know, in believing, in being attracted, But faith, which is just a social mechanism. I live in Italy, so I am Christian. I live in Arabia, so I am Muslim. I live in whatever, so I am that. It's not because you know something, it's just because socially you need to be that. I remember my parents when I was saying that I was atheist, because I was saying as a young boy, I was saying I am an atheist. So my mother and my father said, no, you cannot be an atheist because you are born in Italy. In Italy, everybody is Christian. I said, well, then I will be the first Italian to be an atheist, because what is this? I was telling them, what is this? I go to mass every Sunday and I do like this, and then I come back, I go play football with my friends. Nothing changed in my life. So maybe I was just a little rebellious or whatever. But until a bona fide guru does not come in your life and explains who is God, why God must exist, and second, who is God, which is more important than knowing that exists, because everybody can understand if there is a creation, there is a creator. Nothing came out from nothing, so there must be a God. That's even a child can understand it. But if someone does not explain how is God, then you don't really understand God. And when Srila Prabhupada came, his description was so unbelievably logic. Even materially, it was logic that even atheists like me, even bigger atheists than me, changed completely. Why? Only because he gave us knowledge. This is why knowledge is so important, because knowledge moves your heart. Faith cannot change your heart. Faith comes from the heart, while knowledge changes your heart. That is the difference between faith and knowledge. So faith comes from knowledge and not vice versa. First knowledge, after faith will come. And that faith coming from knowledge is a solid, real faith, because you have faith in something, at least something. You know something about Krishna, so you have some faith on Krishna. More you know, more faith you have. This is how it works in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Haribo.
Beautiful.
Okay, next question. There's no question. No, we stop. Okay, Martin Rosalind.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Haribo.
Please accept my humble obeisances with all the glory for Srila Prabhupada. I also apologize for being a few minutes late today. I was out taking care of some business with my animal and vet. And my question is not so much about the verse itself, but you have mentioned the 4 months of Chaturmasya. And I wasn't aware that you weren't supposed to travel during those 4 months. And because I rarely hear anybody talking about them anymore. I remember something about fasting from certain foods in each month. And I wonder if this is still an active part of a devotional service, because I rarely hear the devotees talking about that.
Following Chaturmasya is part of our culture. It should be done. We should follow Chaturmasya. However, Srila Prabhupada never really, I would say, outlined a line underneath, gave much importance, or yes, he did, but he never.
Excuse me, Guru Maharaj, you mean underlined?
Underlined. He never exceedingly he did. I would be telling an untrue if I say that the Prabhupada never spoke about Chaturmasya or never instructed us, but he didn't outline so much as other things like chanting, preaching, deities, etc. So at the beginning, when Prabhupada was present among us, we were following Chaturmasya very strictly, actually. But since he never gave a lot of weight, when he disappeared, slowly but slowly, things changed in our movement. And I'm sorry, because I also changed, because nobody was doing it. So I didn't find the strength. I'm speaking of the end of the 70s. But before Srila Prabhupada disappeared, the Chaturmasya was definitely followed strictly in our temples. So it is.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Are there reasons related to the culture or the climate for limiting the intake of leafy green vegetables or yogurt or whatever the things were?
Well, I cannot give a precise reason why it's changed. I've lived in a temple for more than 20 years of my life. So I think that simply we were overcome by other things to do. I would say that, at least at the temples where I was there. For instance, there was one time Srila Prabhupada sent a letter where he said that those who go in book distribution, if they don't feel to follow Ekadashi, they don't need to follow it. So we were talking 74, 75, those times. I don't know if you remember, I don't know who is more or less my age, but when you are 18, like I was during the time, not eating, because our Ekadashi was not eating the vegetables only. We were fasting all the Ekadashis, because Prabhupada was very clear. Real Ekadashi is the total fast. Nirjala, we were following until 77, we were following Ekadashi Nirjala, without even water. So after some time, we thought that Prabhupada said that, so maybe we don't need to do that. And then, everybody goes in Sankirtan. So I am the only Pujari here, like in 78. I was the only pujari in the temple because, especially during marathons, so I just couldn't do it physically, you know. So I started to eat vegetables and then that, and Chaturmasya, we had to let grow our beard, but in the West, Prabhupada said, no, it's not good that we have beard in the West, etc., etc. So things changed like inadvertently or without us giving unnoticeably, you know, changed, and we didn't follow Chaturmasya anymore. But if anyone wants to follow it, I encourage him very much, very much. So we have all the instructions, how to do it, what we have to eat, what we should avoid. We should chant more rounds. We should just avoid these horrible birds, not birds, but beards. Don't let beard grow. No, that's not good. That's dirt. In India it's austerity. You know, you try to go to India, and in June having a beard, then you understand why they let beard grow. Because first of all, it's a huge austerity. You know, ants coming in, all the insect, you feel bitten by it. It's then when you eat, your hair goes inside your how you call it that, your dal, and it's dirty, and you eat after your dal has become dirty by your beard, all these things. So it's an austerity. And then the sages, they had to be very careful not to be very attractive to women. And when you have beard and dress that way, nobody wants to come with you, you know, like that. The women like very nicely, well dressed, and etc., etc. Men with money and all these things. So I encourage everybody to follow Chaturmasya, but don't. The devotees in India, yes, but here in the West, don't let your beard grow.
Okay, thank you very much.
But Andy?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hey.
Thank you very much for the class. There was just so many nice points that you explained very nicely. So thank you. As far as my question, I had a question from the beginning when you were speaking about, I guess it was 1.5.19, but how you were talking about how Krishna, he doesn't, he doesn't create like the material universe. It's not him. You said like Krishna is playing his flute, so he's not creating it. So I'm just hoping to get more of an understanding about how Krishna is conscious of everything, how he's not actively doing it, but he's conscious of everything happening here, there, everywhere. So is it even possible to understand how he is conscious of everything?
No, we don't. It's impossible to understand how Krishna's mind works. It's totally impossible. We cannot even project in our mind. Just like we cannot understand infinity. What infinity means. Have you ever experienced something that is infinite? No, because everything you saw until now, so far, it's finite. So we cannot understand something that is not within our power to understand. So you don't even know what's happening in the next door. So what to speak about in the next universe or in everybody's mind. We just had to read and understand that Krishna has these powers, but try to figure, then it is impossible. There is a very nice anecdote that Srila Prabhupada spoke about, I say that animal who lives in the well, how you call it, toad?
Yes.
A
Or the
toad,
frog, Dr. Frog or something.
a frog.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was one frog one time that he wanted to understand, he lived in a well, so much water there is in the well. So he had this conception. This is the reality. So one day somebody came and said, hey, Dr. Frog, Prabhupada call it Dr. Frog. Hey, Dr. Frog, I saw the ocean. So he said, an ocean? How much water there is in an ocean? A lot. But what do you mean a lot? Twice my well? No. Lot more. 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and he started to do like that, 100 times, 1,000 times, and then boom, exploded. Because he doesn't understand. There is no comparison. There is nothing finite can have a percentage in respect to infinite. I don't know if you have studied math or geometry, they teach you that the line is infinite. And inside the line, there is segments. So let's take 1 meter, 1 meter segment. Tell me, 1 meter segment, what percentage is respected to the infinite line? Because infinite is not a number, so you cannot compare it. To have a comparison, you need 2 numbers, but numbers are finite. So infinite is just like eternal. How much time is eternity? You live 100 years, and then there is the yugas, and then there is the Mahayuga, and then there is the Kalpa, and then there is this, and then there is that. So in relationship to the eternity, how much time is a yuga? A yuga is a number. Eternity is not a number, so you cannot compare it. So similarly, we cannot understand something that we are not, and that we don't have, and we will never have. Because we are not Krishna, we will never be Krishna. So we just, this information of Krishna, be conscious of every nook and corner of creation, it's just an information we have to take, but it's not possible to figure, to project it, to numerically understand it.
Could I ask a follow-up question? Then for what reason has this material creation been made in that way, where it's finite? This body I'm in is finite, and it has limitations. This entire world is finite, even though I'm eternal. Why is it that this world is not eternal? In the sense of not changing and not decaying.
Right. Because we are lucky, because Krishna loves us, because we have, since we are spiritual, we are potentially the attraction for things spiritual, potentially. We don't understand why we hate death. It's the most normal thing. Everybody dies. So why we don't like it? You like to walk because you are a terrestrial being here. The fish, they like to swim because they are fish. Is that normal? So why we don't like death? When for us it's so normal to die? Because we have an information inside our heart that we don't die. So the information of I had to die against the information I will never die, they chocano, como se dice in English?
They clash.
They clash in our consciousness. I had to die. No, I don't die. Die, I don't die. Yes, I die, but I don't die. So it's like a conflict in a software that is unresolved. And happiness I'm not happy, but I want happiness. But there is no happiness. Yeah, I want happiness. So they cannot stay in the same place, the two opposite. And that's why this material world is made in a very artistic way, in such a way we will develop the desire to go back in our natural world. The world is finite because we are not, because the spiritual world is not. It's just a question of time. We will get bored and tired of this material world, and we will want to go back to our spiritual world. But why? Because it's natural.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we are close to finish this. I'm sorry that if I knew that there were so few questions, I would have gone another 10 minutes, but it's okay. I mean, 1 hour and 15. I want to encourage you to remember that I want to show you we love our books. I love my books because I write them. I spend day and night on them. 37 paper books published until now, 37, plus other more than 30 only electronic. So when I know that something buys books and read them, I am very, very, very happy. And they're all Krishna consciousness. There is nothing material here. So please get our books and sell them and read them. This is very important for me. And then there is, of course, the library. Our library, we arrived to 8,724 documents, which is nothing. There will be many more, but we are working. I mean, it takes time to do these things, you know. To have the tens and 100,000 documents I promised, it will take some time because nobody's helping me in this. There are devotees who are helping me in other things, but as far as putting information inside our library, there is nobody. Okay, that's it. So remember, I didn't choose to change to Wednesday. It was Bhakta Andy who said, well, he did not really choose. He said that Thursday he couldn't come, maybe come late. And I said, well, you are the one, you know, who promoted this. You had to be present. If Bhakta Andy and Rosalind and then this class will be suspended. If one day nobody comes, that will be the last time. That will be the story of our English video conference. You know? So we spoke and he said, well, okay, let's do it Wednesday. Okay. So we'll see again next Wednesday. And for those who speak Spanish, next Saturday, the time in Texas is 5. In Caribbean, where most of the devotees come from, I will be at 7. Okay, thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much.